إن الحمد لله أحمده وأستعينه وأستغفره وأستهديه وأعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا ربي صل وسلم وبارك على خير خلقك ورسلك نبينا وإمامنا وحبيبنا وقدوتنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. In the past week, brothers and sisters, we have heard a couple of news that were alerting. One of them was that a young Muslim man, a teenager in Australia, went inside a church during their Sunday sermon, last Sunday, and he attacked and stabbed the one who was giving the congregation or giving the sermon. And apparently there was some religious background or reason behind this attack that the youngsters have. Another incident was here in America where also another youth was known for having a comfortable life, great relationship with his parents, with his family, and at the same time was very successful at study. Unfortunately, this young man appeared to have a second type of life that most of the people were not aware about, and he suicided himself. This person is not known to be a Muslim one. Now, some studies were given on both sides independently, and in fact, they come to one conclusion, which is that our next generation, or our generation that we have now, the youth generation, are actually facing some identity issue or crisis that actually would push them to use violence, either on people that they don't agree with or on themselves. So they either kill others or they kill themselves. Either they commit homicide or suicide. And perhaps the reasoning behind either way might be slightly different, but there are some common ground that are actually leading our youth to go into that direction. Now, just to give one very popular statistics here, they said that the number of suicide means someone kills themselves. Homicide is someone murdering others. Now, the number of only suicides that have occurred in America in the past 1 year have now approached 50,000. 50,000 people have suicided, have committed a suicide, and their lives. 50,000 people in America alone in 1 year. That number has been increasing over the past years, year over year. In 2010, it was the time when the homicide numbers were greater than the suicide numbers. But after 2010, the curve of suicide went higher, and now we see more suicide than homicide. Now, the issue here is that the vast majority, over 80% of those 50,000 people who lost their lives were youth, were youngsters, like less than 30 years. And unfortunately, the rate of Muslims who have been attempting to commit a suicide was higher in percentage than those who were non-Muslims. That's about this suicide. And the homicide is very different. Now, the it's very important for us to realize some of the problem here and understand that it is not just something that is happening in a far neighborhood and we have immunity from it. It's something that may apply to us at any point in time. I just want to remind you that just last summer, we had an incident in Texas. You know, this family, happy family, or happy-looking family at least, where they have two of their sons, what's their name, Farhan and Tanweer. And those two were like 19 years old and 21 years old. They lived in a comfortable life. They had a, mashallah, wealthy family, educated family. They lived in a nice neighborhood. They were in Texas, and they were, like, everyone knows about them in the masjid, at the school, neighborhood. Everyone knows that they live nice life. Unfortunately, behind the scene, they were living different life, and that actually led them into depression. And at one point in time, they both decided that this life means nothing to them, and they wanted to suicide. The very, very sad story was that not only they wanted to kill themselves, but they thought, if we kill ourselves, then our parents will be mad. So let's also kill them as well. So they went to their homes. They started with their grandmother. They killed their grandmother first, and then they killed the father, the mother, and then they killed themselves. Like a whole family went into that tragedy, and no one was expecting it to happen. This was extremely unexpected, because they just had a very, like, all the basic needs that any happy family would have. SubhanAllah, this was just one incident, but we have a couple of other incidents, brothers and sisters, and unfortunately, the numbers are actually growing higher and higher. Now, discussing I mean, there are some common issues that researchers and psychologists and psychiatrists are talking about that may cause this violence to go between our youth, whether that they commit a murdering or that they commit a suicide on themselves. And one very common factor is actually the media that they are getting exposed to. Like, for example, the video games that they are playing. I mean, the most popular video games that they do is all about killing. Like, you kill your enemy, and the more you kill, the more points you earn. That's how it goes. It just makes people feel excited, makes youth feel excited about killing and shooting others. And they feel like they did their revenge, and they showed how professional they are at this game. But that's not everything. I mean, the programming that they have on many of those social medias, like things that our youth are being exposed to when it comes to TV, movies, you know, the things that they are watching on TikTok, on YouTube, on all those channels, different channels. And subhanAllah, violence is one common factor there. Violence is, if I don't agree with something, if I don't like something, then I want to have the shortest cut, the shortest path to get that done. Either I kill my opponent or I kill myself. That's how it is. Unfortunately, most of our kids are watching these things, are being influenced with these things without us being aware of it. And even if we were aware of it, we probably are not watching or understanding the long-lasting impact, and that the very slow impact that these kids are going through. In addition to that, some of those celebrities that our kids are looking at them as models, unfortunately, many of them are spreading nothing but violence. They use the worst language. They use this word of killing, murdering is something that they probably will say it dozens of times every single day. And our kids are getting this. Unfortunately, not only getting it as something that they see it's fine to do, in fact, they would see that it is actually a great thing to do because they see models in front of them. They are playing it every single day. They watch those movies, and they watch sometimes that murdering others will make them winners, will make them victorious. And unfortunately, whether they understand or they don't understand, they're taking that and they are actually developing that type of understanding and thoughts that unfortunately will get them into the point where all of a sudden something big happens. Now, the sad news is that the Muslim communities are actually subject to even more damaging factors than the ones that I just shared. And frankly speaking, one of them is the religious discrimination that they are going through. Like Muslims feel, and this is reality, we need to face this. Muslims feel that they perhaps are not fitting in the society where they are at, and that people are mocking at them. They mock at hijab, they mock at lihya, at the beard, they mock at the Islamic practice, they mock at everything. And our kids, we know that for sure. Our kids are changing their names just to hide the fact that they are Muslims, let alone all other things. So they feel that they cannot fit within this society unless they actually take away from their identity the Islamic part. And by doing so, subjecting themselves to leave the fold of Islam completely, or in the best cases, just feel very paranoid or feel guilty that they belong to this religion. And that actually adds a lot of pressure to their anxiety, to their depression, and that actually makes them very vulnerable to all those social and mental issues. Now, in addition to that, researchers have said that there is this community stigma that Muslims have. The community stigma means is that people who have come from certain backgrounds, they have this belief that if someone goes through stress, for example, anxiety, depression, or whatnot, it is shame. It is shame to share that with a psychiatrist or with a doctor. And they feel that the last thing that they would ever think that they will do is to go to a psychiatrist. And I know this. I grew up learning that if someone becomes insane or becomes crazy or becomes how we call it in Arabic, majnoon, those are the ones who will go to psychiatrists. And you know what that means? It means that people will go through they will go through the symptoms. They will go through this circle, or not circle, but the path of going through the depression and anxiety and all those mental challenges slowly, but with no cure, with no solution. Neither they have the treatment, the professional real treatment, nor that the Islamic influence of Quran and the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ are doing anything good for them, because in a way they're trying to behave as if they were non-Muslims. Or even if they are committed to Islam and whatnot, very rarely they find an imam or a sheikh that can put them on the right track and explain to them how Rasulullah ﷺ was dealing with Sahaba, with companions who had those issues of mental challenges. Dear brothers and sisters, it's very sad that we see this problem within the Muslim community, but it will be more sad if we see it and do not do any act about it, and we let it go. The numbers are increasing very highly. They are happening at families that we would never think that they have issues. And the sad news is that, subhanAllah, it's coming to a point where we started to hear about beloved ones losing their own kids. And by the way, the issue is not only that they lose their lives or that they go into violence and they kill others. The issue even goes sometimes further than that. Like, how many families have you heard about that all of a sudden their daughters would say, "Oh dad, oh mom, I no more like to live with you." And they leave and they go somewhere else. And they live with their friends. They prefer living with their friends over living with their own parents. How many times we have heard this on boys and on girls? And wallahi, brothers and sisters, it's happening with very, very pious and Muslim practicing families. And all of a sudden, a man would tell me, "Sheikh, I never thought that I was bad in raising up my children." When I asked him, like, "What makes you say this?" He would say, "I grew up my children from day number one in a very Islamic environment and in a very Islamic surroundings. And then all of a sudden, I discovered that my son does this and my daughter does that. And all of a sudden, they both departed from my home at an early age, like 18 and above. And they say, we no longer accept this type of life that you have raised up with. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه وتوبوا إليه إنه غفور رحيم. الحمد لله على إحسانه والشكر له على توفيقه وامتنانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشانه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الداعي إلى رضوانه. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Dear brothers and sisters, as much as we need to understand the problem and at least get a sense of what its impact and its severity, I mean, this problem is so huge, so difficult, so complex that in no way someone who is not expert can explain it, let alone in that short period of time. But we, as Muslims, at least need to acknowledge and realize that this is an issue and that we need to look at it further. Now, part of the thing here is that we need to have some action items that really would help us at least to not only better understand the problem, but also better understand how we can mitigate its impact, how we can, inshallah, stop it or nip it from the bud if we can, at least within our families or over the families that we have influence on. And one of the most important things, brothers and sisters, that we must have as a community, inshallah, is really to improve the relationship that we have with our family. And what I mean by that, I mean, alhamdulillah, almost everyone here would say, "I love my children love me." That's not enough. I mean, the fact that you give them gifts, that you laugh with them, and that they do the same, does not necessarily mean that you got into a transparent relationship where when they talk to you, they feel unintimidated, they feel that they feel free to talk to you about things that are concerning them, and that they don't hide that. And in most of the cases that we've been looking at, the situation is that the parents think that their kids are going very smooth, mashallah, everything is nice, they pray with the masjid, they do siyam, they recite Quran, some of them memorize the whole Quran. But then, all of a sudden, things accumulate, the parents are not aware, and then they will see just like a volcano exploding in front of their scene. So keeping that relationship very transparent and very deep with the children from the day that they are very young until they become adults is very crucial for all of us. Dear brothers and sisters, this was the habit of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had his daughter Fatima, had his daughter Zainab, and the way that he showed us and actually behaved with his daughters was like an extreme, transparent and love relationship that you could never see it in anywhere. Fatima radiallahu anha wa ardaha, at the time when he was on his deathbed, she came, approached him sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he talked to her privately. and she cried. Until she cried. Aisha was there, but she couldn't tell what's going on. And then she left him a bit and she came back, and then he ﷺ talked to her again privately until she left. And then he passed away, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. When after he passed away, Aisha radiallahu anha asked Fatima, by Allah, what was the thing that he ﷺ talked to you that you cried first and then you laughed second? And Fatima radiallahu anha said, since you already asked me, by Allah, I will tell you, the first time he ﷺ told me that he believes that this day is his last day. So I cried. But at the second time, he told me that I give you the glad tidings that you will be the first one from the family to follow me. And it was only 6 months after his death that she died. And he ﷺ gave her the glad tidings of her not only following him in this dunya, but following him in Jannatu Aden in Yawm al-Qiyamah, in the Akhirah. That type of relationship where it was not only during this life, not only that it was so transparent and so close in love in this dunya, but also for the hereafter, was the example that he ﷺ gave us. Dear brothers and sisters, another very important thing is, in addition to this, is that we need to understand what challenges our kids are going through. Like, how many of us know what video games our children are looking at and spending their time with? Wallahi, if you know, some of these are showing exposed women, are giving all the black metal music, doing all the haram and killing and murdering, and our kids are just enjoying it. And some of the kids who go to the masjid and hafiz al-Quran, they do it, and when they kill others, they would say, Allahu Akbar, to just make it even worse. And one of the reward that they will get is a picture of an exposed girl. That is the type of reward that they get over their video games. The amount of corrupted models, those who are called celebrities, and what type of garbage that they are throwing in the minds of our children is something that wal'iyadu billah, destroying their faith to the bottom. Wallahi al-azim, brothers and sisters, the belief that I own myself, I own my body, therefore I can kill myself. That is something coming from celebrities and coming from all those social media. And unfortunately, we even don't know their names. We don't know what they are talking. We don't know how long our children are spending day and night watching their social media deliverables. Dear brothers and sisters, it's very crucial that we as adults, as parents, as relatives to children, that we put our efforts, fi sabilillah, to work on better understanding of their challenges and better understanding of what may, inshallah, improve their state as Muslims and their understanding of how to resolve issues as Muslims. Dear brothers and sisters, the sad news is that many of us don't even know the ruling of wudu and salah, let alone to know about the most crucial things in Islam. Dear brothers and sisters, this is not an incident that we talk about and forget. This is an incident, those are incidents that are actually growing in number, and at one point in time, la samahallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid, at one point in time we may see that in our own families. So be careful, be proactive in how we go around these, and take the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and how transparent and how close he sallallahu was with his family. You know, I would never expect And I challenge everyone. I think you all believe in that. There was no example in the whole history of mankind of one person who was more busy than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because take any most busy person these days, what are they trying to do? They are just trying to make more money or maybe more visibility, whatever they are. But Rasulullah ﷺ took on his shoulders the responsibility of delivering Islam to all kinds. And that was his whole mission for all the 23 years that he had after he became a Prophet ﷺ, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took his soul. Non-stop work. But yet, when Aisha radiallahu anha was asked, so what would Rasulullah ﷺ do in his spare time? And she radiallahu anha would say, كَانَ فِي خِدْمَةِ أَهْلِهِ. He was at the service of his own family. That was him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Never his work, his job, his other things would prevent him from getting close to his own family. Brothers and sisters, if there's anything that you will be asked about at the beginning, when you first meet with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's yourself and then your family. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. Protect yourself and protect your family from this hellfire, of which the fuel would be the people and the stones. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And inshallah, this is a topic that requires subject matter experts to come and talk about them, talk about the challenges we're going through, some of the psychological impact, and what we can do professionally and what we can do, inshallah, Islamically to mitigate, if not, inshallah, prevent that from happening in our communities. So it's never be enough that we discuss it on a khutbah or in one day or even a whole week or a whole month or a whole year. It's something that we will be having to live with, but we need to all, inshallah, do the act. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة.